Okay, you need to create an opportunity in order to submit paperwork through Command. So you do have to have your client inputted into your contacts first. So that was the first step. Watch the previous video if you don't know how to do that. The next step is to create an opportunity. So the opportunity icon is the shaking hands down here. Think of an opportunity as a transaction or an end more specifically. So every transaction or end that you do requires an opportunity. If you represent a client selling their home and buying another, that's two opportunity, that's two ends. Or if you have a listing and you also represent the buyer, that is also two ends. You need an opportunity for the listing and an opportunity for the buyer. So to create an opportunity, you just have to click on create right here. Again, this is the bare minimum to get you through to submit paperwork to the office via Command. This is not a detailed opportunities training. Opportunities can do so much more than what I'm about to explain. This is just the bare minimum. So once we click on create opportunity, now we're going to input the information about the opportunity. So the market center is our market center is Keller Williams Select Realty. Unless you belong to two Keller Williams offices, you won't have any other options there. If you're on a team, your team name would go in here. If you're an individual agent, it will be grayed out. The opportunity type is important. You need to choose whether it's a listing or a buyer. There's also options for landlord or tenant, but they do not apply in Nova Scotia. However, I do know that some of our agents use these pipelines for second businesses. If you own a property transaction company, you can use these to manage that business. It just don't send anything through to the office. But that's a different conversation. So it's very important if you choose listing or buyer. We'll leave it on listing for now. And who owns this opportunity? So this would be different depending on your team setup. So if you're on a team, if I'm on a team and Joe Smith is my rainmaker and he gave me this lead, and the way that our team works is that means that Joe owns the opportunity. I would choose Joe in this dropdown. That is totally up to your team functions. So that conversation you'd have to have with your rainmaker on who owns the opportunities. Next, we need to attach a client. So this is why you have to have your clients in your contact section, because you need to be able to attach them here. So once you start typing, the options will pop up and you just click on them to attach. Of course, if it's a couple and there's a co-seller, you'd be adding them here as well. The opportunity name, it defaults to your client's name and then whether it's a listing or a buyer. And we know that when you're first creating an opportunity, you may not know what property this opportunity belongs to. But as soon as you know, we need you to change the opportunity name to that property address. So if it's a listing, you should already know what the property address is. If it's a buyer, you'll have to come in and edit it once you know what property they're buying. The custom tags are just for you. They're for your organization. They can be anything at all. So I use the example Home Show 2020. If you put a booth in a home show, you can then track which transactions come because of the home show leads. So you might want to create a tag so you can easily see how many transactions you did due to the home show, but not necessary for Command compliance. Estimated closing date, you likely don't know when you're creating the opportunity, so you are able to leave it blank, but once you know the closing date, you'll come back in and add it later. Listing price, put the listing price in there. It isn't a mandatory field, so you can skip it, but why not? If you know the listing price, just throw it in there. And then commission rate is mandatory, but it is also editable. So if you're representing a buyer, you put 2.5 in here, then you write an offer on a property that's only offering 2%, you can come in and change it. The phase is where you are with this client. So Is it before you get an appointment with them? Are you booking an appointment with them? Or is it an active listing? So in the purpose of just submitting paperwork to the office, it's likely going to be active. And then you can have different stages within the active phase. So again, that's up to your organization and how you want to do it. And then the assignee is back to teams. So if Joe Smith is my rainmaker and he's the owner, I would be the assignee as I'm dealing with this opportunity with this transaction. So once I create it, it brings me into the opportunity.